Top five, top five, top five.
So topical back with another video. I'm Strange Wang. He is not Rugger Hauer or Howard. He's Nate. And today we're doing top 5 science fiction films in honor of Dune, which is coming out this week. So he's excited for it. I'm going to watch it. It's probably going to be a good movie. Who knows? Well, people have seen it in New York and LA because they're critics, but you can see their reviews on social media, but you can find us on social media. He'll tell you about it, and he'll also tell you how the top 5s work.
It's true. If you scroll down to the description box below and pop it open, you'll find links to our social media accounts. So please go give us a follow on those. You'll also find links to our coffee account and our Patreon account if you would like to help support our channel financially so we can grow and be bigger. We would like to do that. If you don't know how we do our top 5s, he's going to start off with his 5 and 4. I'll give my 5 and 4, 3, 2, 3, 2. Then we trade off number 1s. And we also have something called the Zemeckis rule, which just means if we both have the same movie on our list, but one person has it 2 spots or higher, then we won't talk about it until we get to it on their list.
So, over, under, how many Schwarzenegger movies will be on my top 5?
I'm going to guess 2.
Oh, wrong. Number 5 is going to be said Schwarzenegger film, one of the said Schwarzenegger films, Total Recall. So you have Arnold Schwarzenegger. He goes in because this new technology is all the craze. You don't have to go on a vacation. You can just go and get a simulated vacation. And he does that, and it triggers this like memory that he's a secret agent. But that's just the vacation. Wrong. He's actually a secret agent.
Doesn't he get some sloppy toppy in that or something?
No, there's a girl with 3 breasts in it. That's a mutant. 3 breasts. It had to make the list. But it's more than that, the technology and everything. I swear I turned my little moon thing on. Well, I don't know what it's called. It's a moon. But as I was saying, it's just like a really good action movie. And then you go to Mars and all the technology because of drilling to Mars and that little subplot. Because people in the future, they still want capitalism. And drilling to Mars, you know, that's money or whatever it is. But Schwarzenegger, out of space, one-liners. His wife is also a double agent, but she's evil.
Evil!
And she goes to like, honey, it's okay. And she's going to shoot him. And he shoots her right in the middle of her forehead and says, consider that a divorce. Schwarzenegger, what can you do? I wanted to put Running Man as my number 4, another Arnold Schwarzenegger science fiction movie, but instead I went with Arrival. Why Arrival? Because it's different. Because the aliens that come to Earth, they're like, hey, we got a warning for you. We're not trying to kill you. We're not trying to hurt you. And the communication, the dialogue, the mystery, and they're trying to figure out this alien technology, their language, are they out to hurt us or not? That is such a crazy idea for a movie because you look at that on paper like, oh, there's no Will Smith punching aliens in the face and all this other jazz.
Welcome to Earth.
This is like a serious drama. And it's like, yeah, it's a serious drama. With a bunch of like, if this really happened, this is how we would react. You know? Because like, obviously you don't know what they're packing, so they'll probably kill us. So you gotta be on your defense. You know what I'm saying? And I love that. And Amy Adams, Jeremy Renner, they killed the performances in this film. The ending is mind-blowing. Just when you watch like a science fiction movie, at least on my list, there's like, this one stands out. It's totally different. And it's heartfelt. And you come out of that movie like, not like a happy, like I'm excited. Just like, man, that was kind of heartwarming and like it touched right to my soul.
Side note.
Sorry I started laughing. All I could think of was that line in Little Dickie's Pillow Talk where they're debating aliens. And he's like, do we even have the technology to fuck with this shit? Where they be like, damn, Earth go hard.
Yeah.
My number 5. It's like, we almost always hit a point on every list where at least I feel like I have to say favorites. These are our favorites. Not objectively the best. Although I do have 5 really good fucking movies on my list.
Are you about to say Mars Attacks?
No, I do love Mars Attacks, but I don't think that's...
You had a
That's just alien invasion. I don't know if that's science fiction. Anyways, Blade Runner is my number 5.
Which one?
The original. Which one?
With the voiceover?
Huh?
The voiceover?
No, probably the director's cut.
That's what I
final
say.
cut.
That one's canceled.
But yeah, nobody needs to explain why Blade Runner is a great science fiction movie. It's an absolute classic, and like many movies I love, was an absolute bomb when it came out. Like box office wise, it made almost no money, and now it's like on a lot of people's number one best science fiction movie of all time. But I love the grittiness. I love the noirness of it. Harrison Ford, easily in my top 5 favorite actors of all time. But like the world they built is just super interesting too. And they use a little bit of like text card exposition in the beginning, not as much as another film that's going to be on my list that has Harrison Ford. But outside of that, it's like they don't feel like they have to over-explain it to you. Like they just kind of let you exist in this world and kind of like figure it out. So it's like he's unraveling his mystery. You're going on that with him. But like at the same time, you're also just learning more about how this world that they built works. And I really love that. And like science fiction and like crime noir to me are like just a beautiful combination. Give me all of that.
One more thing.
You know what my favorite part of that movie is?
What?
The one-liner. Where he grabs Harrison Ford. He's got the big eyes. He's like, "Wake up, time to die." Yeah. And it's like, that was made in the 1980s.
Now that's really funny.
Number 4 for me is Annihilation. That movie, I knew nothing about it going into it, and it blew me away. It was so good, visually stunning. How it has you on the edge of your seat the whole time that you're like going into the shimmer with them, and like, again, it's like science fiction is so much about world building, like what makes it good. So it's like, can we create something that is so different from like the realm of normalcy because of something like science related, and like make it feel real, right? Because if you go too far, then it's like, this is goofy as fuck. Like, fuck this. Which is how you feel about another movie on my list, and that's okay. But like, what they did with Annihilation, it was crazy because it took all these things that are real that we know, and then just flipped them on their head and literally mixed them together, which made them absolutely terrifying. And excellent cast, super well performed, and I think my favorite part about it was like the maybe hour-long debate we had after the movie, trying to figure out like what the movie was trying to say, because we had two different opinions, and they could both be right, they could both be wrong. I was probably right, and that's okay.
Nah, bro.
But that was his 5 and 4. My 5 and 4 was Total Recall and Arrival, which makes my number 3 a very hard decision because this is a spectacular movie, sensational, excellent, stupendous, and it's Ex Machina.
It's my number 3.
It's like, I was mad at myself because I was
wanted
like
5 number 1s. Like I wanted 5 number 1s.
Like this was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
That's like 3 and up. I was just like, oh. I remember the first time I watched this, just on the edge of my seat, like similar to the first time I ever watched Jaws. That much tension of, I don't know any of these characters well enough for them to be predictable, except for Donald Gleason. He's a simp. You know what he's gonna do? He's gonna put it on the pedestal.
He did.
But every other character is so unpredictable, similar to the bring up Jaws, because the thing about Jaws is underneath that water you don't know what's there when he's coming up, when he's coming out. And to me, that was kind of like what these characters are. Mm-hmm. I don't know what's going to happen next, so I'm on the edge of my seat and I'm just like glued to the screen. And for a film to have that much power and investment in it is, like I said, like with the 10 words that means fucking great. It was phenomenal, spectacular, etc. To me, because of that, and it being a science fiction movie, and science fiction movies notoriously not being my cup of tea, I like Donald Gleason and Alicia Van. I'm not going to try to pronounce it.
You're butchering both of their names.
No, what's his name?
Domhnall
Gleason and Alicia Vikander.
Yeah.
I put this movie on a pedestal.
That Oscar Isaac, he was great.
What?
Oscar Isaac.
Oh.
Are you dumb, stupid?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. This movie, like, it gave me a lot of the same feelings Annihilation did, which is why it was tough for me to pick between those two. But I think that Ex Machina is very much so the better movie. Mostly because with Annihilation, it's very clear that there are elements of danger throughout the film.
Both with Oscar Isaac.
Correct, that's true. Whereas with Ex Machina, it's like how much they're building this tension and this sense of danger, but like how much of it is real? Is Oscar Isaac just like a little loopy and off the rails? Is he as nefarious as he kind of is coming across? Like, what are like Eva's intentions? Like, I mean, we find out.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of there's so much more unknown, like elements of danger throughout the film. And the way that they do that within this little like tech bubble that this guy has created, and what they do with like the science part of this fiction, just adds to it tremendously, because it does like there is like that weird like I really don't, maybe I'm just over optimistic. I don't think we're ever going to get to that point where like AI is like a legitimate threat to the human race. But
maybe not in our lifetime.
But it's really fun to explore that, right? So using that element within like the because there's tons of movies that do that, right? Like AI finally gets that to the level of like too smart. But this one is on such a smaller scale movie, and it's in such an incredibly well-made movie that it just like jacks that fear up even more. Because realistically, if it was going to happen, that's probably how it would happen. It would probably just start in this one small little lab somewhere, and then like we're fucked because we didn't even see this shit coming.
Yeah.
So
somebody get a warrant for Mark Zuckerberg's place. That guy's up to something and it ain't on Facebook. My number 2 is another Arnold Schwarzenegger film, and it's Predator. This goes back to what you said earlier, favorites, and I grew up with this movie. I watched it 3 times as many times as I did Ex Machina, which is why I got my number 2 spot. But John McTiernan directing, one of the most underrated directors of all time. His structure mixed with Shane Black's script and how good that script is, how layered it is for an action film, is incredible. And the Predator, you have this dude coming out of nowhere, and it's an alien, so they're trying to figure out what is killing us. And then they put a little chink in the armor and they figure out it's technology. All right, but he's covered in this stuff. Mm-hmm. So what does this do? And then you got Schwarzenegger, he's trying to outthink it and think, well, I think this is what the technology does.
Schwarzenegger outthinks.
Bro, you got one movie that's not even a science fiction movie. Unless I don't want to hear it. But you have him trying to figure out what the technology does, and then it's this cat and mouse game, and that adds tension to it and everything. To sum this movie up, is so good. It's like getting head on a Sunday afternoon.
What?
Interesting choice.
How is that interesting? God damn it.
They agree.
You see the moon, right? The moon.
Just cut
Almost.
it on silent. Just push that thing down with your not quite fully grown coke nail.
Well, it broke.
There you go. All right, we're quiet. It's quiet now.
But it's a good movie. That's like,
I like Predator. Predator's a good movie.
if I had to guess, that should be like in the 90s on Rotten Tomatoes. That movie's underrated as
I
well.
bet it's an 89. We'll look it up later. It's your list. I'm not mad about it.
I'm
I just
just
said
saying.
all I said was interesting.
You scarfed.
All I said was interesting.
Nobody ever scarfed
I
Schwarzenegger.
stopped at the idea of Schwarzenegger outsmarting someone.
I bet he's smarter than you are.
My number 2 is a movie that I didn't even think of as a science fiction movie until you convinced me that it was right before the video, and it's like maybe my most favorite movie of all time, but it's still my number 2 because science fiction kind of like has its own subcategory, and there's no way I'm not gonna put my number 1 as my number 1, just to spite you. What?
So say it, and then I won't talk. I have a question for the audience.
Oh, so my number 2 is Jurassic Park.
Okay. Tell us down below in the comment section, because we're not going to argue about this because it'll be a 30-minute conversation.
I put it on my list. I'm acknowledging that it's science fiction.
We're arguing, but now you got the question out yet. And somebody keeps texting you, but his is on solid. You can't see it. But it's bothering me, I tell you. So he said Jurassic Park wasn't, and I convinced him that it was because I feel like it's a science fiction movie through and through. But Star Wars, I don't find it to be a science fiction movie, And there's probably one of those on his list because he loves Star Wars. He loves Star Wars more than his own mother. I looked at his desk, his little cubicle. He put the Star Wars picture of Han Solo over the picture of him and his mother.
I'm going to save the Star Wars conversation for when it does inevitably get
Tell us in the comment section below
because
what you think.
you already proved to me that you do consider it science fiction, but we'll get to that in a second. All right, Jurassic Park. The dinosaurs, they don't exist without science, and they are fictional. So I guess it is technically science fiction. I've just never viewed it that way. But I'll accept it because I will take any excuse I can get to put Jurassic Park on a list and to talk about it. Because I love this movie. It's honestly probably the most, like, in terms of drawing me towards film and, like, formative years of film, Jurassic Park is probably the most important movie in my life.
Wow.
Just because it was like the first like big like spectacular film that I can remember watching as a child. I think I have probably seen Jurassic Park more than I've ever seen any other movie, and I will continue to rewatch Jurassic Park over and over and over and over again because what they did with breaking down the science of like how the dinosaurs got made so well, and even though the sequels I don't really care for any of them, I don't even really like the new ones that much personally. But they expand on the science part of it, which I do think adds to the science fiction part of the franchise as a whole, retroactively making the first one even more science fiction than it already is. I really love it a lot. You have great characters. They all balance each other really well. They all have their own individual personalities that clash and then also help them work together and keep you incredibly entertained as an audience. Thank you, Spielberg.
And his number 3 was Ex Machina. Mm-hmm. Which is why he went straight to his number 2. My number 1 is the final Schwarzenegger film for my list, which was 3 altogether. It was 4. I had to cut Running Man out, like I said before.
You skipped putting Annihilation on your list for 3 Schwarzenegger movies?
Number 1, Terminator 2. This one, I feel like it has more of the science.
Yes.
And like we said, this is our favorites. If I'm being honest, and this is non-biased, 2001: A Space Odyssey, this would be at spot number 1. But it's my list. So Terminator 2, because you get more of the science, because the scientist explains like the arm that was cut off from the T-800 in the first film, and why they have that and what they've been doing with that and how they come back. And then Schwarzenegger explaining why the T-1000 can liquefy and make shapes and all this other stuff. But past that, you get a spectacular action movie. James Cameron's behind the camera, so all the technical stuff, directing, etc., is 10 out of 10. And the story, like, is just like this weird, like, father-son relationship. But he wants to be in his life, and he's, like, teaching him as much as he's teaching him. And then the mother, Sarah Connor, she's in there. And that just adds all the depth to this movie. The layers of tension come from her character. She really doesn't trust this Schwarzenegger T-800 because of the first movie. She's got beef with her son because you abandoned me, like you went crazy and all this other good stuff. This is, if it's not a perfect movie, I think it's a 99%. Like, it's that good. Top to bottom, I think, is basically flawless.
That there's impressive.
Tell me why Star Wars, in your opinion, and give me real reasons, not like bullshit, whatever. Give me a reason Star Wars is not science fiction.
Because it's like, it's nothing but fantasy, the fantasy elements. That picture that went around Twitter, whatever, Instagram, what it was, the whole time was like, oh, these are the same thing as Harry Potter. Like, the story arc is that's very fantasy. There's no talk about science, really.
That's not true. You don't watch the movies. You obviously...
They talk about fucking... They came in the second trilogy. What are those things called?
Midichlorians?
Yeah. It's just...
Okay. It's still... I don't like them either, but it still exists.
They're making shit up left and right.
No.
6.5 hours later.
Here's what when I said that you proved my point for me earlier. If fucking Predator is science fiction, which I will not argue with you about, if the only thing that makes that science fiction is that an alien is here who has technology that we do not have, that's science fiction. Then
they
Star Wars,
figure it out. That's the science in it. They figure it out.
How they blow up the Death Star.
That's a battle plan. There's a chink in the armor.
It's a battle plan being projected on a holographic projector with like intricately moving parts.
2,000 years later.
It's science fucking fiction.
not science fiction.
I'm just taking all of Star Wars. My number one is just all of Star Wars. It wasn't. I picked a specific movie, but fuck it. It's just all of Star Wars.
Can you enlighten them what the specific movie is?
Well, I was going to go with Empire Strikes Back because it's the best Star Wars movie. I'm done.
You didn't even talk about you argued.
No.
Your whole number one.
It's 25 minutes long. I don't need to explain to anyone why Star Wars. You either love it or you hate it. That's all there is to it. I love Star Wars. I'll never not love Star Wars. And if you want to debate with me on whether or not you think it's science fiction, I will happily have it out with you. But I will win. And I will also hammer my point to the ground until you're just tired of arguing. But only about this, because that's actually a really unhealthy way to argue.
I was tired of you as soon as I came into your apartment.
You're the one who wanted to do science fiction. You knew this was going to happen.
It's Dune. What else are we going to do for Dune? We already did top 5 movies based on
I'm not
books.
saying it was a bad idea. I understand why we're doing it. I'm just saying you knew this was going to happen.
All right, Howard. Tell me down below in the comment section what your top 5. Tell him about Star Wars.
Bring it.
Whatever you want to do. Do whatever you want to do. So hit the like button, share the video. And subscribe. Please.
You wait till we do another boxing movie list.
Oh, boxing. Did we do one?
It's not a game, it's a rich